Happy Thursday morning, everyone. I think fall is upon us today with the type of weather that we have, most definitely. Welcome to Turn Your Pennies into Benjamins, an Iowa Intermediary Network virtual event. Thank you. We just appreciate your time today, and I'm going to turn it over to today's moderator, Gina.
Thank you, Stephanie. So we want to give a warm welcome to all of our panelists and thank them for joining us today. We're going to start with brief introductions from each of them, a little bit about their background, their education, and what they're doing currently. So we learn a little bit about their careers. So let's start with Sarah.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for your time today and being interested in listening to what we have to say. I'm Sarah Lehan. I am originally from the Omaha, Nebraska area, and I went to college at Simpson College, where I received an accounting degree. And from there, I went to work at Ernst & Young, which is an audit firm in Des Moines. I was there for 7 years. I got my CPA certificate while I was there. And then I moved into private industry. I now work at American Enterprise Group, where I am the Chief Investment Officer, and I've been here for almost 12 years.
Thank you, Sarah. Corey, how about you?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. I grew up in Southeast Iowa. The name of the town was Donaldson, but I usually work my way out by naming Fort Madison or Keokuk. I try to avoid Iowa City because the next part of my life was I went to Iowa State. So big Cyclone family for finance and accounting is what I went for. After graduating, I moved to Des Moines and worked at Ernst & Young like Sarah did for a couple years, and then switched jobs out to West Des Moines, worked at IIN, an annuity company, for 5 years as an internal auditor. And then one of the great things about being a CPA, which I got when I was at Ernst & Young, is it's a designation that can serve a lot of different areas of society. So after that time, I switched to financial planning and retirement planning. And I've been doing that for 2 years at Bowman Shaw Tax and Financial Planning in West Des Moines as well. So nice to be on the call with everyone.
Thanks, Corey. So I'm interested in your background because I saw a little wave when Sarah mentioned Nebraska. So
I don't know Sarah or Corey, but I have connections to both of them. I'm from Omaha originally, as well. My wife's family's from Donaldson, so you guys are all speaking terms that I know. The other ladies, I had no idea what some of those small towns were, but it is what it is, right? So Stoy Hall, born and raised in Omaha. I came to Drake University, played football, got my degree in finance. I minored in business law and insurance, knew I wanted to be an advisor. So I did. I was an advisor in 2011 with Modern Woodmen of America. Became a managing partner within a year there, moved my way up, broke free from them. About 6 years later, went to an independent RA, started that firm, and now I own Black Mammoth, which is my own firm. We have a hedge fund, we have a CPA firm, we do legacy planning as well. So we also have a commercial real estate practice as well. So we do a lot when it comes to money, but that's kind of my brief overview of who I am.
Fantastic. And we'll probably learn more about all those terms you just mentioned as we go through this session. All right, Lacey, how about you?
Hi, thanks for being on, everybody. And I'm in Manchester, which is in Northeast Iowa. I grew up here, kind of a small town, and then I went to Cedar Rapids and actually went to a 2-year school first, got my associate's degree in accounting, and then kind of did some job interviews, tried to decide what I wanted to do next, and I decided to go on and get my 4-year degree at Mount Mercy. So graduated from there, got my CPA, and I started with RSM McGladdery in Cedar Rapids, was there for a few years. Then I decided I wanted to move back to my hometown. So I came back to Manchester, joined a small firm there, and later bought out my boss, and I now own that small firm. So, and we're a CPA firm. I'm more focused on tax, financial planning, and then I have another CPA who's my partner, and she is more focused on financial services investment. So kind of the full package here.
Thank you all. Those were fascinating introductions. And I love the connections that we have just between these panelists here. That is great. I also want to recognize Lindsay with the Iowa Society of CPAs. She is on with us. And we're going to, if we have time at the end of the session, maybe ask her a little bit about being a CPA in the Iowa Society of CPAs. But let's dive into our content here. With the question, what is an investment? Stoy, I'm going to start with you. Tell us, what is an investment?
Investment is a vehicle that you can put money that'll make you money, simply put. What
That was a really...
It can be a lot of things, but that's as simply as it is.
What kinds of investments can you make? Tell us about the different options for that.
Yeah, obviously you can do real estate, you can do commodities, you can do stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You can even do private equity deals with notes and loanings. And one of my favorite ones is you can invest in, mom and pop shops. Being in Iowa, we have a lot of those. And so there's a lot of interesting investments you can do there above and beyond. You can use life insurance, you can use annuities. There's a lot of different ways to have a deemed investment as well as a bank account.
So tell us, Lacey, what would you consider a safe investment?
So the very most safe investment would be your bank account, because that money doesn't go anywhere. You put your money in the bank, you earn usually a very small return because you're not putting any risk out there, but that is a very safe place to put your money and let it grow.
Right. Sarah, any other safe investments our audience should know about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that safe is a relative term. Safe is really based on what is your risk tolerance as an investor? What are your goals in investing? And something that's really important is, what do you understand versus what do you not understand? Anything you understand and can make an investment in, and you know how the money is flowing, you know what your expectations are, those are things that could be safe for you and your portfolio.
Fantastic. Is there anything you would consider risky, Corey?
There's all sorts of risky investments if you go out and see the gamut of all that's out there. I think one that we commonly hear that's hot topic in the news, Bitcoin or some of those other cryptocurrencies. When we're talking about investment, we're talking about value and where we derive value in some of these investments. And some companies like Coca-Cola, for instance, has been around for some time and has a history of making money. And with them making money and you invested in them, you're either benefiting from their earnings or you're benefiting from their appreciation over time holding that investment. And so some of these risky or newer securities like Bitcoin, a little harder to determine where the value is because it's not an earnings pattern. It's more of speculation and hoping that it'll go up over time. So I would put cryptocurrencies or these non-fungible tokens or any of these new concepts as on the riskier side of things, or individual stocks.
Boy, do you have anything you'd like to share about safe or risky investments from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, Sarah hit it. She said that it's all relative, and it truly is. For some people, cryptos and individual stocks aren't as risky. Real estate's not as risky. I think overall, our industry does a really poor job of educating what risk and what not risk is, because it is relative. And that's where in the Midwest, we're fairly conservative overall. And that's where we miss the boat. That's why the money's all on the coasts, because we deem things to be too risky, and it's only because we don't have the education.
So I do want to tell our audience to please enter your questions in the Q&A or chat, and we will certainly try to get to as many of those as we can. But this is a very interesting discussion, learning a lot here. So please ask those questions. We're interested in hearing from you for sure. So I'm guessing this is where you all come in to help others analyze the risk and make good choices. Lacey, do you want to talk about what you do when a client comes to you and says, hey, I want to invest some money?
Sure. Yeah. So the first thing, it kind of goes back to that risk. We do what we call a risk analysis because, as Sarah had mentioned, everybody's risk is different. So we have to get to know our clients and learn what their risk tolerance is. And then we can help them choose an investment that fits with that risk tolerance. And one thing that many times helps with that decision is the age of the person. So sometimes when you're younger and investing, you have a lot more time to maybe recover if the market goes down or something like that. If you're an older investor and looking to retire soon, you're going to want to be a little bit more conservative with your investments and not risk losing money in the market. So we go through all of that with our clients and try to decide. And then, as I mentioned, I'm more of a tax person, so I definitely help people understand how their investments are going to affect their taxes today, and then also when they want to take that investment out in the future, how that will affect their taxes.
That's another important consideration. Thank you for bringing that up. So, Corey, when should someone start investing? What's a good time to do that?
It's never too early to start investing. At the age of going through middle school, high school, college, the investment you can make is in yourself and in your knowledge and in your education, and asking questions. Why does this work the way it does? Or why should I invest this way or that way? Everybody has such different goals in life, and some of those are short-term and some of those are long-term. And there's going to be an investment mix that makes the most sense for each sort of situation. As far as what vehicle to do that in, maybe you've heard of an individual retirement account. Once you're starting out and having that first job, it's never too early to think maybe a portion of that that you're making at your job can be put into a retirement account for later on down the road, or to your college funding through a 529 plan.
So what advice would you give for young people on with us today about investing right now? Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say go out there and do your research. You all live in such a phenomenal time. I mean, when I was your age, which feels like 100 years ago, the internet was really just coming out, and there wasn't much on it. But there is such a wealth of information out there, reputable information. I will caution, there's a lot of junk out there too. So you have to be careful. You have to take everything you read with a grain of salt. But I think going out there and understanding who some of the big players are. I mean, you can get really good information from Vanguard, Fidelity, E-Trade, all sorts of platforms that have brokerage platforms that young people, minors, can start investing on today. Now, you will need your parents' assistance to be able to do that, but there are great options out there. I'll say in particular, maybe some ETF funds, index funds, ETF funds. Those are good low fee vehicles. You always have to look at the fees on this stuff, but there are a lot of opportunities out there that are relatively low risk, really well diversified, where you can start investing today. And I would encourage people to start investing today. The magic of compound interest is something that is just so wonderful. You get interest and it builds your base, and you can keep building on that interest and grow your wealth right now.
I'm sure many of you in the audience have heard an adult in your life say, wow, I wish I would have started saving earlier. So I think that's a great thing to be considering right now. And it's great that you're all on. So Sarah, you touched a little bit on maybe some tools we can use for investing. Stoy, do you want to expand on that? And also we have a question about day trading. If you would like to enlighten us on that topic a little bit, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah nailed it with the tools and resources you can have. The internet is one of the best things and also one of the worst things for our industry all at the same time. So go ahead, hit those. I would just add a little bit to that is if you're young and you're looking at what to invest in, and obviously your money that you have is probably not a lot, look at what you love to play or buy or whatever. And it's probably going to be Nike. It's probably going to be Coca-Cola. Go get one of those stocks and watch it grow over time. That's a very easy way to learn, is getting involved and getting in the game as well. But day trading is a fun one. It's hot. Obviously it comes and goes. I think about 8 years ago it was hot. It's hot again. We got to love, good old GameStop. Thank you for all of that. But it's a very lucrative and a very risky play for someone to get involved with. One, day trading, you have to have at least $25,000 to even get in the game, to even do one trade. So let's start there. Outside of that, it takes years of practice, 2-3 years. I train our staff on it. We don't let them go live for over 18 months at that point. But day trading is a very lucrative way of trading. What that means is I'm getting in and out of trades either by the second, by the minute, or by the hour within that day. Different ways of making that money, but essentially that's what I'm doing. I'm getting in there based upon your research of, I know this stock's either going to go higher from here over the next few seconds, few minutes, or few hours, but only about 1 out of every 10 traders actually are successful and actually make money. So there's ways to do it. I know it's the hot topic and a lot of young people want to get in, and I've got a lot of friends around the world who do it as a part-time gig, and it's definitely available, but you want to do a lot of research and make sure you can find a good mentor to help you.
Right. So we do have another question. Thank you for your questions. Keep them coming. And I am not familiar with this. An app called Acorn or other apps. Is this a good way to start investing or to learn to invest? Corey, do you have some ideas on that?
Yeah, I've had several customers that got started on Acorns, or many that show up with Robinhood accounts. I think those apps that allow you to invest is a great way to dip your toe without jumping in both feet. If you want to put a little money in there, and the best kind of learning is to kind of put your own money at risk and learn from it. When I was just starting out early on, before I was more educated in investing, some of the best lessons that I learned was getting scared at how much I put at risk and what I put it in, and cashing it out, and having that little life lesson to learn to hold or invest in something that makes a little more sense, or that I understood. Early on, I invested in things I didn't necessarily understand, and learned the tax or the risk implications of that. And so I think those apps are a great way to get started. I saw a question about a great way to start investing or learning, kind of piggybacking off this one. I love going out to Investopedia.com. If you have a concept, you like, what is an investment? You can type that in there. There will probably be a short video. I love exploring topics that I'm not well versed in through dabbling on that and other websites.
Sarah, do you have anything to add on, like, what's the best way to just get started?
I think just getting started is a good way to put it. I mean, that there are all sorts of things that you can go out there and do that on. Opening that brokerage account is a really good first step. And I would encourage you to get a parent involved in what it is you're doing, and talk to them about what it is you're doing. They can help guide you, or talk to some other close confidant that you have. I would also caution you to make sure you understand whatever platform you choose. Do you understand how they are making money? Because some of these apps right now, I will caution, are using gamification to get you to make trades, because that is how they make their money. So just make sure that whatever it is you're using has your best interest involved and not theirs.
Nice. Thank you, Sarah. So along with that, we do have another audience question. I also am interested in asking Lacey, if you wanted to use the services of a financial planner, like any of you, how would you go about finding somebody you trust or making sure that's somebody that you want to work with?
I think the most important way would be to talk to other people that you know who maybe use financial advisors, use CPAs. Word of mouth is always the best advertising, both when you're looking for someone and as an advisor or a provider. Word of mouth is the best advertising that there can be. Aside from that, I would say, you know, back to that internet and, you know, looking to see who's in your area. You just see if their values seem to align with what you're trying to do. Do your research, call and ask some questions, and you can call and ask any advisor questions before you actually jump in with them. So get to know them. Most would offer some sort of a, you know, no obligation meeting or phone call, just to, you know, go through that get to know you process. It doesn't have to be an immediate decision.
Fantastic. Anything to add to that, Stoy? If somebody is coming to you and saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody to start some investments with, how do you work through that process with them?
Yeah, for sure. First, I want to give a shout out to all the women on the call. And I see that like all of our attendees are also females. Our industry is very poor when it comes to women and people of color. So I think this is really great to see amount we have here, which is on the lead into is females in finance. Females in finance is an amazing basically nonprofit with Cheryl Hickerson leading it. I'm a male ally. I run Iowa and Nebraska. That is a huge place to go. There's 3,200 members. You want to ask any questions, get anything resolved, that's a very good place to go. Outside of that, I would go to the CFP board or CFP.org because a CFP is going to have a lot more, well, one, education, but two, a better background, and legally has to do things that some deemed advisors don't have to do. So those would be the two places I would go. And then if you do find one and you are interviewing, say you're interviewing all four of us, go to a FINRA broker check and make sure that we don't have any red flags. We don't have any lawsuits against us. I don't know how many times that I've had a client come in, look at their portfolio, go, this is a mess, go to do a FINRA broker check. And that guy's, you know, has done a lot of bad things involved. So those would be the places I would go to.
Great tips. And we appreciate all the resources you're sharing with us today too. Thank you for those. So we do have a question. I'm going to direct this to Corey. So in the long run, is it better to invest in mutual funds or index funds?
You kind of got to back up to that risk discussion, the goal discussion. And then we talk about you don't want all your eggs in one basket. So the term of diversification is important. And so there's many vehicles that can hold the investments, exchange traded funds and mutual funds, index funds, holding individual positions in bonds and stocks. What we try to make sure is that we have exposure to US markets, US equities and bonds. We try to make sure there's international, both developed nations and emerging markets, just because every industry isn't going to be on top every year. And we want to make sure that we have a nice rounded out portfolio to have exposure, but not overexposure to any one certain entity or geographic or sector or strategy.
Great. So another question about investing in resale. Sarah, do you have thoughts on this you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that question means. I'm wondering if perhaps they meant real estate and it auto-corrected. So I'll answer that question, whether or not that was the question. My apologies if it's not. I do think real estate is a good, solid investment. I have real estate investments, rental properties. And here's what's really tough. You can't time the market, no matter what it is you're investing in. My personal home, I purchased in late 2006 at like the peak of prices at the time. And you know, when that happened and the market crashed, I just thought, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that I put all of this money into this home, I committed to it, and now it's worth less than I paid for it. Well, the markets come around eventually, and now my home is, you know, reasonably worth a good value. So I think if something like real estate fits your profile, if you're potentially looking at it as an income property, consider that an annuity stream. I mean, you're constantly getting money in from that. I think it really depends on what your goal is with that real estate. Real estate absolutely can be a good investment in the context of a good diversified portfolio.
Great. Stoy, it looks like you're interested in talking about the bulk items and reselling.
Yeah, so they gave us a better definition of what they meant by resell, and that's to purchase in bulk and for lower and then sell for higher individually. That's not really an investment per se. That's a business model. Now, if you were to start a business and doing that, fantastic. Obviously, we can easily do that in the world that we're at today. But as an investment, that's not really per se an investment strategy. That's more of a business model in my eyes.
That reminded me just of a funny story. I saw that the Fort Madison Bloodhounds are on the call, and that I went to Centrally. But that concept, I used to buy bulk Pop-Tarts at like Hy-Vee and then sell them out of my locker because I was in such a gray area of the entryway of the school.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
yep, it's a business.
Is that
model for
legal?
sure.
Is that legal?
I don't know. Back then, the laws were different. Who knows?
That's a great story. Thank you. So I'm going to wrap up with a few questions for Lindsay just about the field of being a CPA. So it sounds like there's lots of career opportunities for people interested in getting their CPA. And I'm hoping she'll tell us about some of those different options that you can go into with a CPA, and also just what students should do now if they're thinking that that's a career route they're interested in.
Sure. Thanks, Gina. So let's start with what students should do now if they're interested in business careers. If your high school offers an introduction to business course, an introduction to accounting course, a personal finance course, take them. We certainly recognize that dual credit is a big thing these days, and sometimes your higher level math and science courses are the ones that offer that dual credit, and maybe Accounting 101 doesn't. I still encourage you guys, take those accounting classes, just get a little taste of what accounting can be. That being said, accounting is a lot more than debits and credits. I think everyone on the call would agree that yes, do you have to learn the basics of accounting, debits and credits? Yes, absolutely. But when it comes to a career in accounting, or even let's back up, a career in business, there are so many opportunities, endless opportunities. And what I would share with you guys is keep in mind that regardless if our economy is in an economic boom or recession, accountants are needed. A CPA is always going to have a job. There is no shortage of jobs. And I joke that we have a negative unemployment rate. And I say that jokingly, but it's the truth. We have such a shortage of accounting students going into the profession. So I highly recommend that if you have an interest in business, check out accounting. Reach out to one of these professionals on the call and ask them questions. They are all more than willing to talk with you about their career paths. And as you heard, one of them works in public accounting, and a couple of them work as financial advisors, and then Sarah as the chief investment officer for a very large company. So a CPA can take you in all different directions. A CPA can take you from public accounting to business and industry to working as a faculty member, running a nonprofit organization. I always challenge students, give me a career that you don't think that a CPA would be beneficial to that career. And I have yet to come up with a career path that I can't explain and give a rationale on why a CPA will help you do that job better.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a great way to wrap up today's session with all of those career opportunities. I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to wrap up.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. I feel like I'm behind in my investing in my life. So that is awesome. There is a little question here in the chat that just came up. Is there a way for us to obtain contact information for the presenters today? I believe so. Yes.
Y'all get a thumbs up that we're okay if there's some follow-up questions. Are we good with that, panelists?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
All the
Perfect.
socials, follow, like, tweet, I don't care, everything.
There you go. That's actually a very good plug. Yes, students, educators, follow, like, tweet these guys, right? Because it's good for everyone to get the information out.
And connect on LinkedIn maybe too. Yes, that would be a great opportunity as well.
Yes. Well, again, thank you all. We appreciate your time, and everyone have a great Thursday.